Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Thank you so much for still being here while I took a 2-upload break. I have been quite poorly with a cold and an ear infection. I still have no hearing in my left ear, but I've got 2 more days of antibiotics, so hopefully that will all be sorted out. But also George, thank you so much for all of your love for George. He has really been looking after me. He's honestly, sort your ear out. He's given me more cuddles than I've ever had in my life. But yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And also to my patrons who hear from me every other day. Thank you for allowing me to take a week off of Patreon. And yeah, I massively appreciate you all. So yes, today's video is something, yeah, it is, George. It's something brand new, something I've not tried before with regards to what I'm using. But yes, I'm excited and I hope you love it as much as I do. But yeah, George, say hey to your fans because we're only here for him. George, this is your channel now. George. He's more interested in looking outside into the garden because birds, they're not allowed to fly anywhere near our house. And yeah, he's he's protecting me. Anyway, I will see you all in the video. I hope you love it. So in today's video, we are using something brand new. These are designer inlays, guys. Designer inlays by Roxanne's Molds and More. Roxanne found me over through a Facebook group and messaged me and asked if I'd like to check them out, try them out. Of course, once I saw them, I said, yes, please. They look incredible. Now, you've seen me make silicone inlays, but nothing like this. These are next level stunning. They are super thin and flimsy and I knew they would be really easy to use, but I must say that Roxanne designed and made these with Jesmonite and Ecopore in mind, not epoxy resin. So I am taking a risk here today and I'm going to be using these with resin. I particularly absolutely love the flowers and the leaf detail on some of these, and I really love the way that Roxanne has made some that are half and half. Really, really special. This one here is a rather large one. This is all about mums and mother. Perfect for Mother's Day. This would go beautifully in a trinket tray, but I fell in love with the female faces and the flower kind of berets. What do you call them? Crowns? Like, yeah, flower crowns. And I knew I needed to use both of those first before I use anything else. Now, I am using these round silicone molds. These are the diamond cut edges. I absolutely love these molds. Now, I'm just going to lay my inlays down just to show you my thought processes. At first, I was just going to clean them with tape, make sure they're completely debris free, stick them in my molds, and then I'm in and ahhing with the idea of adding even more silicone inlays because I love these so much. I particularly love the flower and the leaf arrangement on this one here. This is the half and half with the sunflower, and it matches absolutely perfectly to the flower crowns on these girls' heads, on these female face heads. You can see here a perfect match. So I really was toying with the idea, don't come for me. I was toying with the idea of actually cutting this inlay in half because I really only wanted half of it at this point. But I decided, you know what? This is my first time trying them, so it's just better if I just leave it, walk away, Claire, leave it as is. So I decided at this point it is time to colour these in. I went over to my Shadowfoam wall. All of the details for Shadowfoam, why do I say that? Shadowfoam will be in the description box below. Now I decided to actually dust these with mica, and the best way to do this to avoid any of this mica powder getting underneath your silicone inlay is to stick your inlays onto some tape. Now, not only will this hold your inlay in place, but it's actually going to make sure that no powder whatsoever, whether you use mica, chameleons, whatever it is you're using to dust, none of that is going to get on the underbelly of your inlay. That is so important. It's imperative that no mica gets on the underside of your inlay, otherwise it then will not cling and it will not attach itself to your silicone mold. So all I'm doing here is giving this a light dusting. How stunning is this? Next up, blow off the excess. That's also important. Blow off the excess, grab some tweezers and gently peel it back from the tape, making sure that the bottom is still completely clean when it comes to laying it down in your silicone mold. And you can see here how neat and crisp this is. And I had all of my fingers crossed that this was going to make a really nice, solid, firm grip. Now we are using rose petals, foil, we're using some of the EcoPore from Just For You Online. And we're also using epoxy resin. This is another risk. This is a question I've been getting. Can we use resin and EcoPore? I don't know. I know we can use it with Jesmonite. I've never tried it with EcoPore. So yes, the colours I'm using for the EcoPore are, of course, the colours that were sent over to me by Homeware Design. Next up, I grabbed from my Shadowfoam wall some of this chameleon powder. If you've been with me a while, you'll know I am a Let's Resin affiliate. Again, all of the details in the description box down below. And I knew I needed to try some chameleons. So on the first female face, we have some gold mica that was from Resin Pro. And on the second one, I decided to use the chameleon. Look at this, I'm obsessed already. And we haven't even got this in the mold. So again, I blew off the excess and I gently and slowly peeled it off the tape using tweezers, and I laid it down into my silicone mold. Guys, check these out. It was at this point I was fully obsessed. Now I mixed up a batch of resin and I separated it out into various cups. This is very much a kind of chuck it all in technique. That technique that you guys know I love. Just a combination of all of lots of different inclusions just to bring it all together. You have to trust the process on this one though. You have to trust the process. Now into the EcoPore, I am putting 1 drop of chocolate and 1 drop of cinnamon. I mix my resin up first so that it can kind of sit there for a while and expel any bubbles. Then I mixed up my EcoPore and I got this beautiful pale brown kind of mixture. I was going for brown. I thought browns with pinks and golds and all these rich colours would look really beautiful together. And I already used the teal chameleon powder by Let's Resin, and I knew that the brown would also work really well with that, as well as work with the gold. So here we are, just a splashing technique. No rhyme or reason. Don't put too much thought into it. Just splodge it on, dollop it on, and wherever you want to do it, you do it. And of course, this was a big risk, like I say. I don't know if this is going to work at this point. I really don't know. So honestly, the EcoPore is water, really. I know Jesmonite is water-based, but my brain is telling me there's no water, like there's water, but there's no actual water. With this mixture, I have to physically pour water. And that's where I was worried, because in on top of this, epoxy resin is going straight in whilst the EcoPore is wet. And that was a big risk. It really was a risk. So there's a few risks here. These inlays were not designed for epoxy resin, and I told Roxanne I'm going to try it anyway. And if I ruin them, I will buy more. Do you know what I mean? I don't really want to be out here ruining things, but I needed to test it for myself. And obviously Roxanne's never tested it with epoxy resin. She designed them with Jesmonite and EcoPore in mind. So there are my risks. Okay. Like I said at the beginning, I mixed up my resin and I divided it into different pots. We've got this one here with Polly's petals. These are real rose petals in this pot, and that is mixed in with the resin. And then I've mixed in some Resin Pro cream mica powder. This is a stunning mica powder. It gives me the most beautiful marble effect. I absolutely love it. And then into the other pot went gold foil and clear resin. So again, very much a chuck it all in technique. And like I said, this is going in wet. Everything is wet right now. The EcoPore is wet. The resin is obviously wet. So yeah, I was nervous, guys. I was so nervous. I had an idea of how I wanted it to turn out, but I was equally thinking, if that EcoPore has a bad reaction with the epoxy resin because of the amount of water in there, then this is just going to be a true hot mess. I'm going to demold. It's going to be gooey, sticky, messy. So it was keeping all fingers crossed that this would be okay. So here is a bit of a close-up. Like I said at the beginning, this kind of chuck it all in, abstract, go with the flow, no rules kind of project. It really is a trust the process. You have to trust your gut. trust the process, and trust the colors that you've chosen. Not everything's going to work, but sometimes it just does. For the background, now you will see I did not fill the molds up. I wanted another color background just to make the backs nice and neat. And of course, those rose petals, they rise up, they float to the surface. So I do really want a nice, neat background. And I'm just using a combination of a pink and a cream Resin Pro mica in with some resin. Really quite simple, nothing too crazy here, but I'm just filling up the backs to give them both a really nice, neat resin finish on the top. Now, also bear in mind, resin and eco and Jesmonite. I'm going to talk about Jesmonite as well here because I have to. Jesmonite will not stick to resin. Eco-Pour probably will not stick to resin, but resin will stick to Jesmonite and resin will stick to Eco-Pour. So if you are doing something like this, you have to absolutely 100% of the time do your Eco-Pour and your Jesmonite first and then pour the resin. If you pour resin, allow that to cure, and then pour Jesmonite or Eco, they won't stick. They will snap apart eventually, if not immediately. Are you ready for this? Oh my gosh, guys. Listen, first glance, what is that, Claire? What is that? That was my first initial thought. Oh no, I don't like it. But here's the thing. The more you kind of look at something and the more you actually appreciate all of the detail, I fall in love, guys. I cannot lie. I fall in love so easily. And these inlays, I still have to bring these inlays out, right? I still have to peel them out. So we've still got so much more detail to look at. My initial thought was the Eco-Pour has changed colour. I don't know if that's an interaction with the resin. It's definitely gone darker in places, lighter in places. It looks quite patchy. But yes, I was nervous here. We had some resin seepage underneath this inlay. And I was nervous about that. But so far, it came out really well. And this is where I got impatient. And I just pulled it out, guys. Don't be like me. Do not be like me. Sadly, I just pulled it out without any future thoughts. And I did, unfortunately, rip off a small amount of the hair. Now, this is not the fault of the silicone inlay. This is my fault. Like I said, the resin had seeped underneath. But I didn't realise to what extent it had seeped underneath. So there's me just pulling away with no regard, and unfortunately this tiny little bit got caught underneath. So definitely be careful. And already, I love this already. Like, even just removing that inlay, I'm in love with the abstract. I'm seeing like almost romantic Romanesque marble in here. And I will say this, if you notice the inlay, so the Eco-Pour and the Jesmonite, they do not pick up mica in the same way that epoxy resin does. They do pick up mica, but not to the degree, not 100%. You'll see at the bottom of the bust, the bottom of the neck, that cleaned the silicone inlay perfectly because it was epoxy resin. But if you're putting mica powder in with Eco-Pour or Jesmonite, just know it will pick it up, but just not to the extent. Now, it was at this point I saw all this kind of blank space that was created by me putting too much Eco-Pour in one spot. And I do feel like that needs a little something. So if you are still here, we're nearly 14 minutes in, please leave me a comment down below. What else do these need? I've got my ideas, but you let me know right now what you think. This one, oh my gosh. Those chameleon powders, for me, you all know. You all know I'm obsessed with the Let's Resin chameleon powders, and wow. Adding those two colours together is a wow factor. It gives me a wow factor. I love them both equally. Like I said, they're giving off Roman marble vibes, like very Italian. I don't know, guys. This is what I'm seeing. Like Italian marble, real beautiful abstract art. But again, all of these areas of Eco-Pour, I feel like they need a stamp on. These inlays wouldn't necessarily make good stamps because, yeah, I think I'd get more of the flat surface of the face. I'd be a bit nervous of using them as stamps. But something along the lines of a real delicate leaf or a delicate flower, a petal or a rose in a stamp form, stamped onto the Eco-Pour sections, I think would be an absolute wow. It would bring these up. It would elevate these up to next level. Even the way the Eco-Pour has been kind of splashed on, splished on and dolloped, it looks like cracks in marble. Guys, you can't make this up. This is the thing. The beautiful thing about allowing yourself to just go with the flow, you get the best results, I promise you. Now, here's a question for you. Can you get gold ink for stamps? I don't know, I haven't looked, but if any of you guys out there are serial stampers, seasoned stampers, can you please let me know what the best gold ink is for stamping? Because I feel like those eco pore areas need something. Now, whether it is hand-drawn gold pen, I'm not very good at that, whether that is Cricut decal in gold vinyl, or whether that is a flowery botanical rose stamp in gold ink, honestly, 100% need something. So, as I've been talking, you could see on screen, I did decide to create a gold edge. Now, these molds should be linked in my Amazon storefront down below. These are the diamond cut edge molds, absolutely up there as my favorite coaster molds that aren't round. I decided to bring the gold pen all around the edges and up and over. So just ever so slightly over the surface, and this gives you so much more to look at as you're looking directly down onto it, and so much more depth and interest. The pen I'm using is the Deco Color pen in gold. That is also linked below in a specific shop in my Amazon storefront, actually called Deco Color. And guys, why am I getting 50p piece vibes right now? I do not know. Well, I do know, obviously, it's the shape, it's all of those edges, but I am in love with this. The inlays are absolutely stunning. They work beautifully with epoxy resin, but I will say one thing, these molds are the cheaper kind of silicone, the cheaper silicone that you can get from like Amazon, AliExpress. The silicone inlays didn't really cling to these molds as much as I would have liked them to, hence the resin seepage. Now, Ecopore and Jesmonite will not seep as much because it's a much, much thicker material. It doesn't flow like resin. But yes, I feel like these inlays would work perfectly on molds such as Molds and Shapes molds. You know, those top quality, like superior top quality silicone molds. These inlays would work better on those with epoxy resin. So if you do decide to get these inlays, guys, that is at your own risk if you use epoxy resin. For me, they worked, but be gentle. Don't be like me. Don't rip them. Guys, let me know what you think. I'm in love. I'm absolutely in love. Let me know in the comment section down below if you can get a gold ink. If so, which one would you recommend? Because I truly do feel, as much as I love these, they are giving me royal Romanesque romantic vibes. I also feel like, I know I'm repeating myself a billion times, but I need to cover up that Ecopore. They need something. Not with the leaf stamps that I've been using, but something a lot more delicate, more floral, more romantic and pretty, and I just love these. I love these so, so much. So lessons learned here. Let's go right back to the beginning. I wouldn't pour as much Ecopore in one place. I would stick to the splashes and the splodges and the dollops and the lines. Love, love, love the lines. They look like they are just cracking through a big slab of marble the way they are. I absolutely love them. No regrets on the inlays. I think using powder on the inlays was absolutely genius idea. Now, some of you have told me to use powder on stamps. I haven't done that yet. I will definitely, oh my gosh, after this, I definitely want to explore that more because I cannot get enough. Using the tape to secure the powder in place was a genius move. I think that worked really, really well. But yes, too much Ecopore in one place for my liking. However, we can recover that. We can bring that back with adding more detail on top. As for the inlays, beautiful. As for adding Ecopore and epoxy resin together in the same mold whilst wet at the same time, genius. Absolutely worked a dream. No issues, no curing issues. The resin cured up perfectly brilliant. That Vista resin that I used here is their fast cure. So it was only 4 or 5 hours later I was able to pour the back and everything was good. Honestly, beautiful. I could not have asked for this to go any better than it did. I'm in love. I'm still getting 50p piece vibes though. for anyone outside of the UK, if you haven't seen what a 50p piece looks like, just quickly Google it and you'll see what I'm talking about. But this image here is giving me 50p piece vibes. Not for too long, because we will have King Charles's picture on our coins very, very soon. But I'm in love, guys. I'm in love. I've enjoyed this process. Thank you so much to Roxanne's Molds and More for sending me these inlays. They are stunning. I've already asked Roxanne if she can make larger ones, because I feel like one of these would be stunning in the center of a giant coaster or a trivet or a tray, something like that. Oh my gosh, mind blowing. The possibilities are endless. I don't know how Roxanne makes them, so please don't ask me. This is Roxanne's deal. It's her business. I'm going to link her details down below so you can get in contact with Roxanne if you are interested in these inlays. Again, the screen did say paid promotion. Roxanne didn't pay me. She sent me a few inlays. I'm not getting paid cash, and I'm not going to be working on commission. I'm not going to get paid if you decide you like these. I am just here promoting things that I truly believe in and things that I love and things I know I am going to use for a long while to come. I hope you've loved it. I hope this has really helped you, and let me know what I should do with all that blank space, because it's kind of killing me. Thanks again for waiting. Thanks again for just still being here after my little 2 upload break, because I really appreciate you guys. You don't know what it means to come back and still have you all here. Seriously, I love you. Thank you so much for 88k as well. All of the thank yous. There's never enough time in the day. We're nearly at 22 minutes. I've got to stop talking because you know them comments are gonna come. I love you all so much. Bye.